Hey there, it's Clumpkin. I hope you're all having a great day so far. Today we're gonna be playing a little bit of Fortnite because a new season came out yesterday, and it's like super similar to Chapter Two, Season Two, and I'm having so much fun with it. It takes me back. Um, but yeah, today's topic is maturity, and honestly I thought this correlated pretty well because it's so similar to Chapter Two, Season Two. It's almost like it's a second time, but it's been 3 years, and I have since, I would say, matured a little bit in those 3 years. So, obviously, maturity is in multiple ways, but the two major ways are in physical maturity and mental maturity. And now I can assume that you all probably know what physical maturity is. It's when you're, becoming like physically becoming more adult and your voice changes and all that stuff, like we know about that already. um, and then there's mental maturity, and mental maturity is when your ideas and perceptions kind of change along, and you're maturing ideal uh, I want to say ideally, but it might be idealistically, maybe, if that's even a word. But your thoughts and the way you perceive things are changing always. Um, so like a sense of maturity is kind of like your perception of something changing. Like something you might have disagreed with now, you now see a different perspective, and you agree with it now, or you just have a different outlook on things. Like it's kind of dark, but I have matured in the sense of thinking about death. Like death would get me thinking existentially, and I'd panic like late at night. I'd have my heart would start racing, and I'd be panicking really crazily. And now my idea on death is a little less panicky. Like I'm a little more accepting of death as a thing, and I think that's because I've gotten new information, I've gotten new perspectives, and I have matured in that sense. And it really helps. Like, if you're wondering how like that happens, it's really kind of information you intake, and just kind of what you perceive and how you perceive things. So I watch these videos from Good Mythical Kitchen, which I really suggest. It's one of my favorite video series, and it's called Last Meals, where they get celebrities and guests on the show, and the celebrities, they ask the celebrities what they would want for their last meal if they were to have one, and then they make it or buy it, and then they present it, and the guy Josh, who hosts the show, eats it along with the celebrity and guest. And they talk about death. They talk about other things. They talk about the person's personal life. But lots of the episodes have really changed my idea of death and how I perceive it. And now I'm a little more accepting, a little less scared of it, and I'm very thankful about that. Maturity can also be like outgrowing something. Like, I think in the most basic example of maturity is when you're a kid, you have baby toys, and you mature past those baby toys into different toys, and you mature past that into no toys, or you mature past that into video games, um, and it just kind of continues. So maturity happens in lots of different things, but lots of it is mental. um, So, a larger example, I would say, is maturing past people. Um, and this is a feeling of when you're not really like the people that you would surround yourself with. It's not really, you don't feel as connected in a way, if that makes sense. Like things start to not stick as well, or you start developing less and less in common. And that doesn't mean you can't still be friends. It just means that you're maturing and changing as a person, different to them. Um, so things change, life moves on. Everyone thinks differently. I know we all share common thoughts, but everybody is our own individual person. We all share perceptions differently. We all view things, albeit similarly, still differently. And, you know, so it's okay to have different views and stuff like that and whatnot. But yeah, I think maturing past people is really an interesting thing. Because it's really like a feeling where you're kind of like, you don't know if you're the one maturing or if it's them, but what you do know is that one party feels like they're kind of, I don't know if I mean to say dragging. I won't say dragging, but I can't think of like a word that makes more sense. You know what I'm saying? So just keep in mind, dragging isn't the right word here. I can't think of any other, like staying behind, I guess, as it feels. So like you can tell, like you can feel that one person is growing, and the other person also might be growing, or they're staying the same, or they're going two different ways from each other. Like they're growing in two different paths, and you can kind of tell. You can feel that sometimes. But aside from that, maturity, I like to think that mental maturity doesn't stop. Like you know how physical maturity has stages. So like you're a kid, like you're a newborn, then you're adolescent, and a toddler, and then you're like preteen, teenager, adult, and then then you become like middle aged, and then you're old, and you know, like that stuff. I like to think that mental maturity doesn't have that limit. Like it doesn't just stop, because physical aging, you stop, and you only stop because you die. But I guess the ultimate form of physical maturity is dissolving into a skeleton. Depending how you go out, you know, cremation's a thing. So a pile of dust, if you will, or ash. Sorry, and but I like to think that mental maturity doesn't have that cap to it. You can just keep maturing or changing, and maturing isn't always like. You could be like maturing for better or for worse, because your ideals are changing and your thoughts are, you know, you're changing perspectives and stuff. Sometimes that can be great. I would say most of the time it's probably beneficial, but other times, you know, it can be worse. I'd say that's a little more a little less common is when it's worse. But I digress. Sorry, I love saying there's this TikToker that I've been watching, and he like tells stories and shit, and he says I digress a lot. It's been stuck in my head. I'm trying to use that word to sound smarter, you know. But yeah, so how's that llama do? Homie's walking still. That's crazy. Yeah. Yeah, maturity. It really, like, I haven't reached my full potential, I guess, like for maturity. Like I like to think that I've reached a decent stage, but there's still more things that I can learn, and there's still more aspects of life that I have yet to experience to really gain that sense of like maturity. I sound like a broken record with how many times I'm saying maturity this episode, but you know, it's really to show that like it's just the concept, you know. I sound so dumb, I feel like. But yeah, I haven't, like, I've only been around the earth for, God, almost 2 decades. I'm 4 years away from almost 2 decades. That's crazy. But yeah, acknowledging my age aside, yeah, I haven't like experienced nearly anything that's kind of for me here in this life. I haven't really traveled outside of the States. I think I've traveled to more places outside of the US than I have the actual US states, which is kind of funny to think about. Yeah, I really just haven't, I don't know. I really just haven't Oh my goodness, that guy got dogged on. I feel so bad for him. Oh my. Ah. Oh, bro had minus his drum gun. Nice, dude. Oh my god, I'm kind of going crazy this lobby. Oh, this guy was stacked, actually. Oh, I'm gonna take this just because I have the perks that align with the thing. I'll open these. These are just for a challenge. I'm opening these. Sorry, I was getting into some Fortnite fights. Where was I? Maturity. I'm so sorry. I lost my train of thought. I don't remember where I was. God, see, this is why I need to start editing my videos, because I just completely forget. Like, this is why I need to start doing voice recordings, because the gameplay messes up my train of thought. Yeah, okay. So, maturity. So, there's lots of, like, different things that work with maturity. So, like, my grandma has lived longer than me, right? And I would consider her more mature. But just because she's more mature, I don't, like, we have different views on certain things. So, like, you know, she might view something one way and I might view something a different way opposed to her. And that's not bad. It's just, you know, I'm probably dead here. It's just how we, mature differently, I guess. And I'm, like, you know, obviously she has a lot more life experiences than I. So it's, honestly, I would say it's not much of a contest here because, like, you know, she's done so much more stuff than I have in life. So I really don't have, like, the knowledge. I would say she's a pretty wise person. Oh, wow, I got dogged on there. But I would say she's a pretty wise person. And she has lots of experiences. She's dealt with a lot of stuff. Therefore, she has a lot of outlooks on life. Some I agree with. Some that, like, are different. But the differences are more political differences. And that's a thing in itself. I'm talking more about, like, life differences and whatnot. But yeah, I guess mental maturity also goes along with physical maturity. But it doesn't have to. And it doesn't necessarily, because you could be like 40 years old with the maturity of an 8-year-old, you know, and that's really, like, your surroundings. I'd say that's probably really because of either, like, your surroundings or just you haven't really learned much about other stuff. You get what I'm saying? Yeah. I guess that's it for today. I mean, my Fortnite match ended. That lasted a lot longer than I thought. But yeah. That's maturity. I feel like I talked about as much as I could with that theme. So yeah. I hope you have a great rest of your day whenever you're watching this. I just want to thank you all for watching the videos. I've been getting a pretty solid amount of views. And it's kind of crazy to think, like, because I think about the views as, like, individual people. So it's kind of crazy to think that this many people took their time out of their day to watch it, even if it was, like, for 30 seconds. Like, to watch at least a part of this video. And I'm very thankful for that. I am going to ask in this video, if you're watching and you enjoy this content, leave a like. You don't have to, but it'd be really cool if you did. And on that note, don't forget to tell somebody you love them. And I'll see you guys next week. See ya.